No one is above the law. In Milwaukee, an illegal alien from Mexico was in court, being prosecuted for domestic violence. He was charged with violently attacking a man, punching him in the face 30 times, strangling him, and then attacking a woman by punching her in the face with his closed fist. Both victims were brave enough to be in court. The judge, Hannah Dugan, learned that ICE was outside to arrest him after court. She is now charged with obstruction of justice for sneaking this criminal defendant, an illegal alien, out a back exit through her chambers to avoid his arrest, leaving the victims and prosecutors sitting in court all morning waiting on justice. In New Mexico, law enforcement was tipped off that Judge Joel Cano had a TDA member living in his home. The judge and his wife allegedly gave him access to assault rifles, one with a suppressor, to go to a shooting range to perfect his skills. Law enforcement found pictures on his cell phones and social media showing multiple tattoos and gang insignia. They also found a picture of him with the judge.
Okay, so Trump's Attorney General, pick Pam Bondi, just got handed what could be the final warning of her political career. And yeah, I'm talking about a federal judge, a Reagan appointee, by the way, literally threatening her with jail time if she doesn't back off. This is wild. So here's what happened. Trump accidentally, and I mean accidentally, posted a private message on Truth Social that was supposed to go directly to Bondi, but instead the whole world saw it. And what did it say? He's basically ordering her to prosecute his political enemies. We're talking James Comey, Letitia James, the people who've been going after Trump for years. He just put it out there for everyone to see. Can you believe this? Like, come on. You're the president. You've got the attorney general in your pocket. And you accidentally tell the entire internet that you're using the Justice Department as your personal revenge squad. Are you kidding me? But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
He had mocked a $5,000 reward to catch TDA members. They also had pictures of 2 victims who had been decapitated. Their hands were cut off and their bodies had also been mutilated. The judge, now charged with obstruction. Post Miranda, he admitted he destroyed one of the cell phones with a hammer and then took it to a city dumpster down the street to dispose of the evidence. The Trump administration will fight for victims. The rule of law is very simple. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in. If you break the law, we will follow the facts and we will prosecute you.
Now, legal experts are losing their minds. They're calling this a direct admission of weaponizing the DOJ. And honestly, they're not wrong. When you've got the president publicly telling his AG to go after specific people, that's not justice. That's a hit list. But here's where it gets even crazier. This judge, this federal judge, who was appointed by Ronald Reagan, not some liberal activist judge, he looks at this whole situation and says, hold on. He issues what he's calling a final warning. He tells Bondi and her office that if they keep this up, if they keep targeting people based on Trump's personal grudges, he's ready to hold them in contempt. And yeah, that means jail time. Let me repeat that. A federal judge is threatening the Attorney General of the United States with jail. This is unprecedented. Like, when was the last time you heard about something like this? Never, because it doesn't happen. Attorneys General don't usually get courtroom warnings about going to prison. And the judge didn't hold back. He said Trump's posts constitute a direct admission of discriminatory intent. Translation: the president just admitted in public that he's using the justice system to discriminate against his political opponents. The judge literally used Trump's own words against him. So now Bondi's in this impossible position. She's got Trump breathing down her neck, demanding she prosecute his enemies. She's got a federal judge telling her that if she does, she could end up behind bars. And she's got Congress, both sides of the aisle, watching her every move. Oh, and by the way, Bondi reportedly called the White House after she saw Trump's post. Sources say she was furious. She knew exactly what this looked like. She knew it was going to blow up in her face. And guess what happened next? 2 grand jury indictments dropped almost immediately after Trump's post. Yeah, that timing is just a coincidence. Sure, here's the thing though. This isn't just about one post or one judge or one warning. This is about something way bigger. 42 retired judges, bipartisan group, sent an open letter basically saying Trump's orders to Bondi are corrupt. They said it puts the rights and liberties of every American in grave danger. These aren't random people. These are former judges who've spent their careers in the system, and they're terrified. Think about that for a second. Career judges, people who've dedicated their lives to upholding the law, are publicly warning that the Attorney General might abuse her office. That's not normal. That's alarm bells ringing at full volume. And this comes right after the whole Epstein files disaster. Bondi is already facing massive backlash from Trump's own base because of how she handled or didn't handle releasing those documents. MAGA world is furious with her. Congress is furious with her. And now the courts are stepping in. So you've got an attorney general who's lost the trust of the base, who's under investigation by Congress, and who just got threatened with jail by a federal judge. This is not going well. But wait, there's more. Because this isn't happening in a vacuum. We're watching this unfold as the country heads deeper into Trump's second term. Every move Bondi makes, every decision she takes, it's all being watched. Not just by political opponents, but by the courts, by Congress, by voters who are asking themselves, is this what justice looks like now? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Whether you love Trump or hate Trump, whether you think Bondi is doing the right thing or completely off the rails, this story matters because it's testing the limits of executive power. It's asking whether there are any checks left on the people at the top. It's asking if a president can just order prosecutions like he's picking lunch. The judge seems to think the answer is no, and he's willing to back that up with the threat of jail time. So buckle up, because this is about to get even messier. All right, let's dig into what's really going on here. Because the surface level stuff is crazy enough, but when you start peeling back the layers, this gets so much worse. First, let's talk about that Truth Social post. Trump didn't just casually mention Bondi should look into some people. No. He gave her a list. He named names. James Comey, the former FBI director who investigated him. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, who's been prosecuting his business dealings. These aren't random targets. These are the people Trump has been publicly feuding with for years. And here's the kicker. This was supposed to be a private message, like Trump thought he was DMing Bondi, but instead he posted it publicly. Now you can laugh at that, and honestly it is kind of funny in a dark way. But think about what it means. If Trump's comfortable sending that message privately, what else is he saying behind closed doors? What other orders is he giving that we don't see? Legal experts jumped on this immediately. They're saying this is textbook abuse of power. You cannot use the Justice Department to settle personal scores. That's not what it's for. The DOJ is supposed to pursue justice, not vendettas. But Trump's post makes it crystal clear. That's exactly what he wants. Now, Bondi's response to all this is interesting. She called the White House. She was reportedly frustrated. But here's the question. Was she frustrated because Trump made the plan public? Or was she frustrated with the plan itself? Because those are two very different things. And then almost like clockwork, 2 grand jury indictments came down right after the post. Coincidence? Maybe. But come on, the timing is suspicious as hell. It looks like Bondi saw the post, got on the phone, and then boom, indictments. That's not a good look. That's the kind of timing that makes people think Trump's pulling the strings. The judge saw all this and said enough. He issued his warning from the bench. And this wasn't some casual comment. This was a direct threat. He said if Bondi's office continues down this path, if they keep pursuing cases based on political motives, he will hold them in contempt. And contempt means jail time. Let me break down why this is such a big deal. Federal judges don't throw around contempt threats lightly. That's a nuclear option. You use it when someone is actively defying the court or undermining the justice system. For a judge to threaten the attorney general, that means he thinks she's on the verge of doing serious damage to the rule of law. And remember, this is a Reagan appointee. This isn't some partisan hack. This is someone who was put on the bench by a Republican president decades ago. He's not playing politics. He's watching what's happening and saying this crosses a line. But it gets even more complicated because Bondi's not just dealing with this judge. She's dealing with Congress too. There's a bipartisan investigation into how she's handling her office. Democrats obviously have issues with her, but Republicans are starting to ask questions too, especially after the Epstein files situation. Oh yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Bondi was supposed to release the full Epstein files. Trump promised transparency. His base wanted to see everything, and then nothing. Bondi dragged her feet. She released some stuff, but not everything, and MAGA world went ballistic. You had people on Truth Social, Trump's own platform, calling for her resignation. You had conservative commentators saying she betrayed the movement. This was supposed to be a slam dunk. Release the files, expose the powerful people involved, show the corruption, Instead, Bondi fumbled it. And now Trump's base doesn't trust her, so she's lost the MAGA crowd. She's got Democrats investigating her. She's got a federal judge threatening her with jail. And she's got Trump, her boss, publicly pressuring her to prosecute his enemies. This is a nightmare scenario for anyone in her position. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Those 42 retired judges who wrote that open letter, they specifically said Trump's orders to Bondi corruptly abused the office. They used the word corrupt. These are judges. They don't throw that word around casually. They're saying the president is actively corrupting the Justice Department, and their warning was stark. They said this puts the rights and liberties of every American in grave danger. Think about what that means. If the president can just order prosecutions of his enemies, who's safe? If you criticize Trump, could you be next? If you investigate him, are you now a target? That's not how democracy works. That's how authoritarian regimes work. But Trump doesn't seem to care. He's been ramping up what he calls his retribution campaign. He's been clear about it. He wants revenge on the people who went after him. He wants them investigated. He wants them prosecuted. He wants them to feel what he felt. And he's using the DOJ to make it happen. This retribution campaign isn't new. It's been building for months. Trump's been talking about it openly. He's made lists. He's named names. He's told his supporters that payback is coming. And now with Bondi in charge of the Justice Department, he's got the tool to make it happen. The problem is, this violates pretty much every norm we have about how the Justice Department should operate. The DOJ is supposed to be independent. Presidents aren't supposed to direct specific prosecutions. There's supposed to be a wall between the White House and ongoing cases. That wall exists for a reason. It prevents exactly this kind of abuse. But Trump's bulldozing through that wall. And Bondi, whether she wants to or not, is the one holding the sledgehammer. She's in an impossible position. If she refuses Trump's orders, he could fire her. If she follows Trump's orders, the judge could jail her. There's no good option. And all of this is happening while the country watches. We're not talking about some behind-the-scenes maneuvering that only political junkies care about. This is front-page news. This is the kind of thing that shapes how people view the entire administration. It's a test case for whether any accountability still exists. The courts are trying to hold the line. That's what this judge is doing. He's saying, no, you can't do this. I don't care if you're the president. I don't care if you're the attorney general. There are rules. There are limits. And if you cross them, there will be consequences. But will it work? That's the million-dollar question. Because Trump's shown over and over that he doesn't care about norms. He doesn't care about tradition. He barely cares about the law. He does what he wants and dares people to stop him. So far, most people haven't been able to. This judge, though, he seems different. He's not backing down. He's not hedging. He's drawing a clear line and saying cross it and face jail time. That's bold. That's the kind of stand that could actually matter. Or it could blow up in his face if Trump and Bondi decide to call his bluff. And that's where we are right now. We're watching a showdown between the courts and the executive branch, between the rule of law and raw political power, between what's supposed to happen in a democracy and what actually happens when someone decides the rules don't apply to them. Bondi's in the middle of all this. She didn't ask for it. Well, actually, she kind of did by taking the job. But now she's here, and every decision she makes from here on out is going to define her legacy. Is she going to be remembered as the AG who stood up to presidential overreach, or the one who enabled it? Right now, it's looking like the latter, and that judge is making sure she knows the consequences. Okay? So let's break down what this all really means, because this isn't just about one judge getting mad or one post on social media. This is about the future of how our government works. Point 1, presidential power versus judicial independence. This is the core issue. Trump believes, and he's been pretty clear about this, that as president, he can direct the Justice Department however he wants. He sees the AG as his personal attorney. He thinks he can order investigations and prosecutions. But that's not how it's supposed to work. The DOJ is supposed to operate independently. Yes, the president appoints the attorney general, but once appointed, the AG is supposed to pursue justice, not the president's personal agenda. There's a reason for that separation. It prevents tyranny. It prevents abuse. It keeps the system honest. Trump's blowing past all that. And this judge is saying, hold on, you can't do that. The courts still have power. The judiciary can still check the executive branch. That's the whole point of our system. Checks and balances. No one person gets unlimited power. So this confrontation between the judge and Bondi is really a confrontation between two branches of government. It's testing whether those checks and balances still mean anything. And honestly, we're about to find out. Point 2, the Epstein files, disaster, and loss of base support. This matters more than people realize. Bondi's not just fighting external enemies. She's lost support from Trump's own people. The MAGA base wanted those files released. They wanted transparency. They wanted to see who was involved with Epstein. They thought Bondi would deliver. She didn't. She slow-walked it. She released some stuff, but held back the rest. And Trump supporters turned on her. You had people who would normally defend anyone Trump picks calling for her resignation. That's significant. When you lose the base, you lose your protection. Now Bondi's vulnerable. She doesn't have that armor of MAGA support anymore, which means when she faces criticism, even from within Republican circles, there's no one rushing to defend her. She's exposed. And Trump knows it. That's probably why he felt comfortable posting that message in the first place. He knows she needs him more than he needs her right now. The Epstein situation also raises questions about what Bondi is really doing at the DOJ. If she can't deliver on a promise that Trump's entire base cares about, what can she deliver on? It makes her look weak. It makes her look like she's either incompetent or covering something up. Neither is good. Point 3. The broader implications for American democracy. Yeah, I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. If Trump can successfully order prosecutions of his political enemies, if Bondi can carry out those orders without facing real consequences, what's to stop future presidents from doing the same thing? Imagine a world where every new president uses the Justice Department to go after the previous administration. Republicans prosecute Democrats. Democrats prosecute Republicans. Back and forth forever. Nobody's safe. Nobody can speak out. Nobody can investigate corruption because they know they'll be targeted next. That's not democracy. That's a banana republic. Those 42 retired judges understand this. That's why their letter was so urgent. They've seen what happens in countries where the justice system becomes a political weapon. It destroys faith in institutions. It undermines the rule of law. It turns everything into a power struggle where might makes right. And once you go down that road, it's really hard to come back because the next person in power sees what the last person did and thinks, well, if they can do it, so can I. It becomes a race to the bottom. Everyone abusing power because everyone else is abusing power. This is why the judge's warning matters so much. He's trying to stop that slide before it's too late. He's saying, no, we're not doing this. We're holding the line here. And if you cross it, there will be consequences. The judge isn't alone either. You've got legal scholars writing op-eds. You've got former prosecutors speaking out. You've got civil rights groups filing briefs. There's a whole coalition of people trying to preserve the independence of the justice system. They see what's happening and they're fighting back. Point 4. What happens next? So where does this go from here? Well, Bondi has a choice. She can back off. She can tell Trump, no, I'm not prosecuting people just because you have a grudge. She can operate the DOJ the way it's supposed to be operated. If she does that, the judge backs off. Congress might back off. She might even rebuild some trust with the base if she handles the Epstein files better. Or she can keep going. She can follow Trump's orders. She can pursue those prosecutions. And then we see what the judge does. Does he really hold her in contempt? Does he really send the attorney general to jail? Because that would be historic. That would be constitutional crisis level stuff. My guess, Bondi tries to thread the needle. She'll pursue some cases that seem legitimate on paper, but also happen to target Trump's enemies. She'll try to give Trump what he wants while maintaining plausible deniability. She'll say we're just following the evidence, while coincidentally the evidence keeps leading to people Trump hates. But I don't think the judge is going to fall for that. He's already called out the discriminatory intent. He's already said Trump's posts prove what's really going on. So any prosecution that looks even remotely political, he's going to scrutinize it hard. And if it doesn't hold up, contempt charges, Congress is going to keep investigating too. Democrats smell blood in the water. They're going to hold hearings. They're going to subpoena documents. They're going to make Bondi explain every decision she makes. And some Republicans, especially those worried about 2026 midterms, might join them. Nobody wants to be associated with obvious corruption. In Trump's base, they're watching. If Bondi keeps fumbling, if more scandals come out, if she looks weak or compromised, they'll turn on her even more. Trump might stick with her because firing another AG looks bad, or he might cut her loose to save himself. Hard to say. Trump's loyalty is flexible. There's also the possibility that other judges start following this Reagan appointee's lead. If more federal judges start issuing warnings, if more courts start pushing back, that makes it harder for Bondi to operate. She can't ignore every judge in the country. At some point, the courts collectively could box her in. So yeah, this is messy, this is complicated, and it's far from over. We're in the early stages of what could be a massive constitutional showdown, or Bondi backs down and this fizzles out. But either way, damage has been done. Faith in the Justice Department has taken a hit. People on both sides now see it as political, and that's hard to undo. Here's my bottom line. This judge just drew a line in the sand. He told Bondi and Trump, this far and no further. Now we wait to see if they respect that line. If they do, maybe our system of checks and balances still works. If they don't, we're in uncharted territory. And honestly, I'm not sure which way it's going to go. Trump doesn't back down easily. Bondi is in a corner. The judge seems serious. Something's got to give. And when it does, we'll all feel it. This is the kind of moment that defines an administration. It's the kind of fight that determines whether we still have a functioning democracy or just the appearance of one. No pressure though, right? The stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about whether the Justice Department remains independent or becomes a tool for whoever's in the White House. We're talking about whether judges can still check executive power or if that's just a relic of the past. We're talking about the future of American democracy. Stay tuned, because whatever happens next is going to be massive. This story's just getting started. And trust me, the fallout from this is going to reshape politics for years to come.